Welcome to Action Taker Tribe. I'm your host, Jo Ingram, and today we are talking about perfectionism and what it's like to do it messy and then level up. Now, if you're anything like me, I know that you always worry that what you're about to put out in the world isn't quite at the standard that you would wish it to be. You always wish you had longer. You always want to work longer to get it to the nth degree. And quite often as coaches, when we're putting new stuff out in the world, whether that's a new program, a new podcast, even a new lead magnet or some social media posts, it can be paralyzing when we worry too much about something being just good enough. And let's be honest, we link it too much to our self-worth. If this isn't perfect and received in exactly the way that I would imagine, then I'm not worthy, I'm not good enough. And when this stuff runs around your head, it's not surprising that it takes too long to get stuff out there and consequently making money, getting clients, creating that impact that you were made to do can be so much harder when you layer on that perfectionism. Now, when I first entered into the industry, this was exactly the sort of pressure that I was putting on myself. And when it came to my podcast, it took me, I think, about 5 or 6 months after I recorded my very first trailer to actually getting my podcast out there. And I'll tell you why. It was because I couldn't pick a name. I couldn't pick an artwork that I was happy with. I wasn't sure that I was going to add enough value, and I wanted to think more about the sorts of topics I would talk about. I wanted to gain more confidence. And I'm sure this is resonating with you in the sense that we always think we need to be a little bit better before it goes out in the world. Now, like myself, you might be ex-corporate. And for us ex-corporate coaches, those pressures can sometimes be even worse because we've been trained to work in a certain way in the corporate world. I know in the 20 years that I was working in the advertising industry, the sorts of level of perfectionism that was demanded meant that the hours we put in were incredibly high and the pressures were sometimes unbearable. And I remember sometimes writing a presentation for a client that would need to be read by my boss, by her boss. They would all have notes, all have edits. And quite often it wasn't about making it perfect. It was just about making it more to their taste. And it went round and round. No wonder we start overthinking and double guessing and all the things, whether it's good enough. Because now we work for ourselves. You're your own boss. You start thinking, well, what if it's not good enough? Who's going to check it for me? And all these things that go around our minds. And quite often we do have wonderful podmates or perhaps VAs who can check our work. But it doesn't mean that we feel confident in putting it out in the world. And I want to talk to you today about doing it messy. But a second part of that too, which I'm calling it the Do It Messy Makeover. Now, I've spoken before about doing it messy, because I truly believe, in my experience, we have to do it messy. Now, I just want to qualify the word messy here. For you and I, messy doesn't mean really messy. It means not quite perfect. It means putting it out at 80% instead of 100%. And be honest, your 80% is better than so many people's 100% because you are so good at what you do. You are so capable and able. You've proved it so many times in your life. So please don't think that when I say messy, I mean a proper old mess. I just mean get over the perfectionism aspect. Let it go when it might not look 100% how you envisaged. Maybe you don't have the skills on Canva or in some other place to get it to a position that you would believe was truly professional in every sense. But I'm pretty sure that your version is going to be way good enough. And that's what I mean by doing it messy. And that's exactly how I ended up going out with this podcast. I brainstormed a number of different titles for it. And I knew that being an action taker, that was what I really wanted to convey. It's Action Taker Tribe. I really struggled with the title. And in the end, I decided I either go with it now or I will never record my podcast and get it out in the world. And I asked myself, which one do you want? Do you want to never have a podcast or go with the best title that you have right now? And I told myself that I could change it in the future. And that's something that I'm now in the future. And this is where we're talking about the Do It Messy Makeover. Because it's true that when we do it messy, we just get started. We start getting the momentum. And momentum is so powerful. Never underestimate the power of momentum. When you're sitting on something that is just yours and you're not sharing it with the world, you're not getting that momentum, and you're importantly not making an impact. While it's still in your head and in your heart, it's not out in the world. And doing it messy is just a lever for getting something that needs to be out in the world, making an impact, and importantly, getting income in the bank, because of course you're running a business. But once it's out in the world, it gives you an opportunity to iterate, test and learn, decide what it needs to be in the future, and indeed go back and make the changes. Do it messy makeover. And this is exactly the position that I'm in today when it comes to the Action Taker Tribe podcast. Now, if you've been listening to the last few episodes, you've heard me talk about a relaunch and a rebrand. And it's been so important for me to add extra value, to change it up, and to represent exactly what my listeners, what you feel about the business that you're growing and running. Now, I learned recently that my podcast is in the top 10% of all global podcasts. This completely blew me away. I had no idea that I'd scaled to a position that put me in the top 10% of the world of podcasts. There are so many sensational podcasts out there, and I'm so grateful for your support, for you who are listening in to my episodes and getting the value and learning what it means to build a business in alignment with balance between the masculine and feminine, to feel fully lit up by the business that you're running and the coaching that you do. And importantly, bring your authentic message forward. And it's been interesting, if you've been a listener of mine over the last year and indeed have listened to a lot of the back episodes, you may well have also seen the evolution of what I talk about. When I started my podcast, I was all about action taking, pure and simple, coming out of corporate. I believed that the message that I had to give was solely about productivity, about needle-moving tasks, about getting shit done for your business. And although I still believe that those are true, as I've grown as a business owner and as a coach, and most of all as a spiritual CEO, I've learned that actually it's that balance that is all important. And my message has really come through in my podcast. And I'm so grateful for this opportunity to actually grow by using my podcast as my platform. And I know that my message is now crystal clear. It's about avoiding burnout, building your business in alignment with being an action taker, yes, but also having soul and a real spiritual side to growing your business. You know how much I love law of attraction, and I talk often about being the sort of person that magnetizes your soul clients. And I wanted my podcast title to really represent more the fact that the masculine side of me, which is full of drive and action and achievement, is balanced with that feminine, the divine feminine, that's all about flow and intuition and grace. And our authenticity flows from that place of inspiration, and shit happens because we have the masculine drive to bring it into the reality, to magnetize it and materialize it. And so I am relaunching my podcast with a new title. The next episode you see will not be called Action Taker Tribe anymore. It will be called Goals with Soul. And this title took me, the best part of a year to conceive, because I wanted it to represent so much those two aspects, the masculine achievement and the feminine flow. And for me, goals with soul means that we can be driven and successful entrepreneurs who have goals, that have real business strategy. But we do it with soul. We do it in alignment with our spiritual beliefs and in alignment with source energy. And I feel, and I hope you agree, that this title really reflects the energy of the content that I provide, what I talk about each week, and what I love to share the most. And I hope it also reflects what you love to listen to the most. I know that I've been getting incredible feedback when I'm vulnerable and I share the challenges of bringing spirituality and our soul into our business. When I've talked about burnout and when I've talked about not always being able to drive forward because of that fear of burnout, yes, but also because I want to lean into that divine feminine so much more and actually be somebody that can flow in business. It's all about ease, not about efforting. So goals with soul it is. but more than just the name. And indeed, you'll see some new artwork next week and some new music. It's really about the content. And I know that for me, this Do It Messy makeover is about leveling up the value of what I provide for you. And the core aspect of my podcast is going to remain the same. I'm still showing up and pouring my heart out about the business of being a goal-orientated business owner with soul. My mission to help you create authentic messaging for your business, to pour out your unique gifts in such a way that soul clients are simply magnetized to your offers. But also, I'm going to be introducing special guest interviews. And I'm so excited. I've got some amazing guests lined up. And they're going to be specially picked as people that can bring immense value in their personal journey stories and in their specialisms. We're going to keep building our businesses with more soul and hitting more goals. We're going to share strategy and we're going to share spirituality. We're going to talk about how to build our businesses in practice, but also with energetics like pranic healing, law of attraction, and human design. So the Do It Messy makeover is all about leveling up something you've already created from a place of total alignment, because you know it feels amazing to take it to your next level and to bring in your future clients with more of what you know they love. And just as importantly, more of what you love and what lights you up. I knew that my podcast was the place that I wanted to do it messy makeover and put that energy into, because I'm so passionate about podcasting and sharing my knowledge and experience with you in this way. So I would invite you now in January, look at your business and ask yourself, is there something I'm holding back that I really need to do it messy? And is there something that I've gone out with in the past that it's time to give a makeover to? So tune in next week for the first episode of Goals with Soul, where I'll also be sharing a special competition that I know you're going to love to celebrate the relaunch. And so for the last time on the podcast called Action Taker Tribe, I wish you an inspired action week. And I look forward to seeing you next time on Goals with Soul. Now the waitlist is finally open for my group program, Time to Rise. If you know that you've been hiding and need to find authentic messaging so you can rise in your business with authenticity and sharing your unique gifts in alignment with divine balance and not burnout, drop into the show notes right now and join the waitlist so you can get all the information and be the first to hear about the founder member offer.